The first time probably we are doing something other than work on site, and a couple of questions to ask you. Tell me, what do you think about architecture, nature, which is so close-knit? What do you think about its marriage?
No matter what we say as architects and what we claim, architecture is really an act of destruction. So no matter what we do, as soon as we start building, we destroy nature. But one thing that I've learned over these years, also working in Jeffrey Bauer's office, was that architecture can really help us as human beings to appreciate nature. It actually can sort of empower and strengthen the experience of nature. I know my favorite spot here in this house, but what's your favorite spot?
Hands down to the picture window that you've created right outside the gate on the boundary wall. It very slyly gives away to the landscape and the vistas ahead. Also the sensitivity with what it actually approaches in a way for the visitor, because it pays respect to the visitor whilst waiting outside. Before he's welcomed in, he gets the entire vista, and I think that's the sensitivity of the project right at the anvil of it. You built this lovely property and you framed so many vistas from various parts of the house. Do you think that architects are actually undercover photographers?
As soon as we decided to place these two pavilions towards the view, instead of along the view as a panorama, we realized that architecture could be a camera capturing these views all the time in different ways. This frangipani is a beautiful old specimen, but what are some other interesting species that you've used in this landscape?
I think we've got a mix of a great plant palette, I would say, right from the nocturnal jasmine to the wild grasses that we've planted in a very random way, to celebrating spring with lovely bougainvilleas across the property, and of course the indigenous gulmohar, which turns totally scarlet orange into the entire property on the top levels. I think it's like having a feast at the big Indian wedding. It's got everything of everything, but with a little bit of restraint in it. Tell me, Robert, what is the best time of the day that you enjoy this house the most?
We designed this house with two very different characters. The side that's facing the east, the living room, and then the side that faces the west,
right,
where the bedrooms are and where you can enjoy the sunset. So it's really difficult for me to decide which one is best. Right. Depends on whether you're a morning person or an afternoon person.
It's an open gallery, I think.
But the important thing is to design the differences, the contrast between the times of the day, so that you really feel every day afresh and experience things anew. Do you think that landscape should blend in or stand out?
I think it should play the role of a negotiator. Negotiate in a way that probably it blends in at times where required and where it's subtle and understated with a hint of restraint, I would say, but then come out in its full glory where required and have its own moments.
I think that's what you've done here in many of the different places, like for example the courtyard, right?
Courtyard does have its special moments where we've used old frangipani trees and also held back with restraint by using gravel as the undercover. Whenever you design a project, do you believe that things should age gracefully or always remain new?
The architecture that Shefali and me really appreciate and adore is actually the ancient architecture. As aged as the Ajanta caves, for example, or our favorite memories are those of walking through the old town of Dubrovnik. Some of these experiences is what you experience here in this property as well. Those qualities that architecture has just becomes better and better over time.
There's nothing better than aging gracefully and aging over a period of time rather than seeing everything in a broad spotlight of being brand new always. Technology is good in its own way, but I think aging gracefully and with time definitely has its own charm.
You can't really fight it, right?
I mean, not everything in life can be Botox. Architecture is one thing which is left without the Botox.
What I'm also really curious about is seeing this property again in 5-10 years and seeing what then has come of the landscape and the architecture.
In this kind of a property where the whole property has been clad with stone everywhere, it would be really nice to see nature doing its own number on the stone as well as the landscape growing 10 folds more. How does it enclasp over the architecture and bind itself would be an interesting story to see, read and tell over the years.